Distance by design. Across long time horizons, societies forget which outcomes were chosen and begin to treat them as weather. Automation accelerates that forgetting by placing smooth surfaces between our actions and their consequences. As automated systems scale, interfaces do not merely simplify work, they restructure causality for the user. They compress complex chains into a single click, a single metric, a single confirmation, so responsibility migrates upward into system design and downward into the process, while the felt link between action and consequence thins over time. An interface is an agreement about what can be seen, what can be done, and what must be ignored. It is a constraint. It limits which variables enter attention and which outcomes count as success. When automation is added, the interface also becomes a timing device, deciding when feedback arrives and whether it arrives at all. In the short term, the incentive is clear: reduce effort and reduce variance. A dashboard that yields one number is easier to manage than a messy reality. A button that triggers a workflow is cheaper than deliberation. A default choice is faster than a conversation. The feedback loop is immediate. Fewer steps produce faster throughput, and faster throughput is treated as competence. As repetition sets in, the system rewards the behaviors it can measure, and the user learns to optimize toward the measurements the interface presents. This creates a trade-off that is often implicit: legibility versus fidelity. The more legible the system becomes at the surface, the less faithful it may be to what lies beneath. Another trade-off follows: local efficiency versus global accountability. Automation can make each step appear clean while pushing complexity into places the user never sees: error handling, edge cases, externalities, maintenance, and exception pathways. Over the mid-horizon, distance grows because consequences are routed away from the moment of action. The interface absorbs friction that used to teach caution. Where a process once demanded attention because it was slow, noisy, or uncomfortable, automation makes it quiet. Quiet systems feel natural. Quiet systems also hide the cost of mistakes: a misclassification, an overconfident threshold, a missing field. The system does not announce these as moral failures, it presents them as normal operation. Across longer horizons, a second-order effect appears. Not only do individuals lose situational understanding, institutions lose the vocabulary for describing what was lost. When work is redefined as operating the interface, skill becomes the ability to satisfy prompts rather than to interpret reality. Responsibility then relocates into upstream choices, data definitions, allowable actions, default settings, escalation rules, yet those choices are often made once and then forgotten. The interface becomes a cultural memory substitute. If the screen does not show it, it is treated as if it does not exist. Uncertainty must be named here. Automated systems are built under incomplete models, shifting environments, and partial measurements. Even when well-intended, they will have unknown failure modes, especially at scale and at the edges. The absence of visible feedback is not evidence of correctness, it can be evidence of insulation. When consequences arrive late, they arrive as surprises, and surprises get narrated as inevitabilities rather than as design outcomes. This is how interfaces create distance. They translate responsibility into compliance with the surface. The person at the boundary feels they followed the system, while the system is treated as neutral because it appears consistent. Yet no system is neutral. Every interface encodes values by deciding what is easy, what is hard, and what is impossible. When outcomes begin to feel inevitable, governance becomes harder. Not because people care less, but because attention is being guided away from the real levers. Responsibility shifts from individual intent to collective design. What the defaults assume, what the metrics reward, what exceptions are permitted, what escalation paths exist, and what harms are considered out of scope. The distance is not only psychological, it is structural. It is a reallocation of agency across time and across roles, where accountability can evaporate into the phrase, "That's how the system works." A disciplined reflection can be small and still be precise. Choose one automated interface you rely on and name its time horizon. Ask without accusation, what consequence is most likely to arrive late? An accumulated error, a silent exclusion, a hidden dependency, a tail risk that only appears at scale. Then name one hidden assumption the interface asks you to accept as natural: a default, a metric, a category, a boundary. This is not a search for villains. It is an attempt to see the constraint that shapes the outcome, and to remember that design choices are choices, even when they are old and quiet. Hold the work with humility. The surface is not the system, and the system is not the world. The future is shaped by constraints, not wishes.